All right, let's move to the next one. One of the things that we talked about was this idea of an event scheduler, which was really exciting for me when I was on the product side at Squid as a product manager. One of the big projects that I got to work on was our calendar component, which lets you pull in data from multiple sources into a single calendar view that is customizable. So you can build in kind of different pop-ups and processes. You can actually do data entry through that. So if you want kind of a time-based view of data, you can do that with Squid. So let's go take a look at that here. We've got essentially a custom object called bookings that lets us relate events to a deal. And we'll go through some of the different views. These are all default views that are available with the calendar. There's a week view, there's a month view, there's a day view. We do some interesting things with groupings. You can do a list view, which is great for mobile. And then you can set up interactions so that when the user taps on something or clicks on something, whether it's an empty cell, it's going to create a new record and they can kind of go through the process of creating a new event. Or they can click on an existing one and get information that's editable in line if the user has those permissions. And so this can be kind of our central, hub for managing events related to this particular deal. And then let's go over here. This is something that we've added some improved support for recently, is this ability to do groupings. And so we can group by resource or by, in this case, it's going to be room. So we can look and see what rooms are available based on this. And so we can go and set up a new call here. Let's do this one here. We'll try and keep it to an hour. And so you can see it's related to the deal that we're on. We'll call this a meeting. We'll just say stakeholders sync. Okay, and it carried that context through from where I clicked to define that. I can choose to make it an all-day event if I want. We can see the room that we picked, but we can also change the room here if we want. And then we can save that booking. And that's going to save it back to this record as well. And so if I come back here, if I hit refresh, we should be able to go to our bookings section and see if it's here. Yep, stakeholder sync up there at the top. And so we're going to look at a couple of different ways that we're connecting to data here. And that could be another API, or we can use the HubSpot API that we're connecting directly to save that back to this deal.
Something I want to highlight that like I get really excited about, and what you just showed, and when we'll talk about some of the data source type stuff as well, is that's a custom UI that you guys sort of built on top of Squid. It's injecting data back into HubSpot and linking and associating it to those records we started it with. But I think the other thing that's really interesting is one of the things we run into a lot is, okay, I want to have this in HubSpot. And so the first problem is I have to figure out how to get any data that's going to be relevant for this user journey back into HubSpot also. But maybe I have like a mind body system and that has all of my locations and what availability they have. And now I need to go and sync that back to HubSpot. And I add a bunch of complexity just to solve for this particular use case. I think when you were talking about this is like that availability or where that comes from doesn't have to come from HubSpot. It can come from a bunch of different other sources.
Absolutely. Yes. And in fact, that's so one of the things that's part of Squid is we actually have our own database. And we would recommend using it for kind of supplemental contextual data. So we actually use that here to have our list of rooms. And so you can see we set up a fairly simple table, max occupancy, what's the name of the room, what's the type of the room. You can also use it for some quick data. So you can actually set up a database that you can use alongside others. It's also great for prototyping. But yeah, you could be pulling resources and times from Google Calendar or anything else that's got an API that we could pull from. And the other thing that was exciting to talk through with this is that, HubSpot, you can create date time fields through the API, which is great if you are API savvy, you're a developer. But if you're not that and you want to maybe do something a little bit simpler, one of the things that we realized we could do is create text fields in HubSpot. And what we did was, let's see if I can find the right field here. Yeah, so we created a text field for start date time and end date time. Yeah. And what we can do in Squid is actually convert that to a date time type. So we're a metadata transformer here. And what that means then is that the Squid calendar component is going to be able to treat that like a date time field and work with that. So we give you this kind of extra layer of flexibility, the metadata HubSpot. And that's getting pretty technical and honestly a little bit beyond me. So hopefully there's not too many deep questions that go with that, but a really exciting use case to dig into with scheduling.